morning show where we sold a
Going on social media, supporting the spread.
Welcome back to Amateur Shit Talkers. Today in the studio we have the man who seems like has lived many lives, has done that many things. We have Ben ROARTY. Ben, tell us a bit about yourself.
Mate, grew up in Western Sydney, pretty poor parents. Used to have just icing sugar for dessert at night because we were so poor, couldn't buy lollies.
That sounds alright.
Yeah, used to borrow footy boots off cousins, and parents used to work 2 jobs and stuff to pay all the bills. They had beautiful parents, grew up there playing rugby league, and then rugby league sort of consumed my life as a kid.
Yeah.
Moved to Melbourne about 1997 to play for the Storm after working numerous jobs in Sydney to pay the bills, and then after that rugby league career, I obviously moved on to a few bigger and better things, and got a beautiful family, 2 little boys, or 1 younger boy and 1 older boy, and a wife, and I just live down in Hidden Valley and live the dream, brother.
Oh, now, awesome. I feel like you've played yourself down a lot there.
Yeah.
So much.
Mate, we haven't got 2 hours to talk, so I'm trying to keep each question to 2 minutes.
I feel like we can pretty easily fit this all into half an hour, even just talking about you. If you want to get flying into it, we'll get flying into it. Camp for Cancer, one of your massive things, something that we've been involved in. If someone follows the Amateur Shit Talkers, you would have seen that we emceed your most recent event.
Yep.
Can you tell us a bit about it for the viewers that don't know what it is?
Yeah, first of all, late notice, boys got called up and did a fantastic job, and we'd love to come back next year. Camp for Cancer is an event where we just we have a private property, and we get between 300 and 500 people camping each year, and we donate money to the Peter MacCallum Cancer Research Foundation and other small cancer oncology units. Mm-hmm. So this year we donated, I think, 70,000 to Peter Mac and $10,000 to Ballarat Oncology Centre. And that's basically, it's a family camping event just up here in Wallen, and you boys have been there and seen the love and excitement that it brings to the community and people like that, and it's a huge event in its 10th year this year, so
awesome.
It's really good.
So this is going on 2024.
This year is 10th year, the anniversary, so you boys have to come up with some ideas to help me run this event and get a massive launch. And
what are your base ideas for 2024's?
We might try and get some, like, a bigger name act on the music. Saying that, the music and the musicians we have are 10 out of 10.
They're all unreal.
And some of them played on the weekend at Futuration with Benny Gregory stuff that you boys hosted as well. Yeah. And we're lucky to have those entertainers and you guys help us out at Camp for Cancer. It's a 100% volunteer run event. Yeah. So it's great, mate.
It'll probably be like worth getting some AFL, trying to get some AFL players and that down. Like,
yeah, probably get rugby.
That's a rugby player. As a rugby league player, you can't be massive.
I mean, we've got a rugby player. Like, that's all you could want, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you want a rugby league player. AFL players, I don't know if they turn up. Might be too cold for them at night.
Yeah. But, all right, so it's almost been 10 years. 10 years ago, what sparked the idea of Camp for Cancer?
Very good question. I went to a camping event at the Melbourne Showgrounds, and it was the shittest run event I'd ever been to. It was shit. It was just shit. And there was complaints all the way around, and that was 2014. And in 2011 and 2013, my parents had just died from cancer. So I figured I can do a camping event better than these dickheads who run that event down there. Yep. And I was driving through Wallen looking for locations, the Wallen Footy Oval, Hatfield Park, looked up here at Broadford. And then it came to me, I didn't want to use a public area, I want to use a private property. Got a friend's property that we've been on, as I said, coming up to 10 years this year. Yep. And they just opened the gates and say, Ben, do whatever you want to this property while you're raising money for cancer research. So that's just how it come about, mate. It was a pretty simple idea. I'm a goal setter. As soon as I set a goal, it's going to happen, mate. There's one way or another, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's like where you're one step ahead of everyone, because like a lot of people will just complain about something, not do anything about it, maybe take it to manager, all that sort of stuff. Yep. But you decide to complain about it and take it into your own hands, and then fix the issue,
people who complain, if you've got a complaint, you haven't got a solution with your complaint, your problem at the start, you're wasting your time. So, I knew I went to a shit event. rather than complain about it, I can do this better, and that's how we did it. And as I say multiple times, the volunteers I've had over the last 9 years, including you guys last year, it just helps run a smooth event, and people want to be there for that particular
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Who was the person that got on board with you straight away? Was like, fuck yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later. I was a prison officer at the time, and I had another mate there who ran Lancefield Motorcycle Club. And done a lot of fundraising at that particular time. And I just said to him, mate, I want to run this camping event up there. And his name was Colin Consiglio. He jumped on board. Another mate of mine from rugby league, Mark McGrath, jumped on board. Next minute we had a committee. Next minute we had 60 people camping there. The first year we raised $12,500. And I thought, it's a lot of work to not raise that much money. Yeah. Fast forward to like last year, about 400 people raising, I think we raised 80,000 or something like that. So yeah, it's a slow progression, and you learn each year, and you get bigger and bigger each year.
Yeah, and obviously there's a lot of moments that you could probably call your favourite, but like when I say your favourite moment, what straight away pops to mind?
Yeah, the favourite moment has to be every time I got that check on stage. Yeah. And I got, between 300 and 500 people standing in front of me. And then I don't even know how much it is the treasurer writes on the check. And to turn it around and, go, I think as I said, we get 12.5 the first year, then went to 22, then 32. And probably the proudest moments when we went from 30 grand up to like 60 grand in 1 year. And I was like, what the fuck? How did we raise that much money? And then consistently the last 3 or 4 years we raised 60 grand or 80 grand. And, 2022, we raised $100,000 over 2 events. Last year was $80,000. So this year, who knows what we're going to raise? Yeah. And the fact is, last year we ran 2 events in one, and we raised $260,000 for cancer research just last year alone. So that's $500,000 now in total we've donated.
That's mental.
It's good from a humble little bloke from Liverpool in Sydney who, grew up with beautiful parents, but like didn't have too much, mate. So to just, a little Aussie battler come through and do what I'm good at is bringing great people together, and that's what I'm proud of. What I do.
Fuck yeah.
Makes me look good.
Yeah, it does make you look good. What's the actual the money maker for those events? So obviously, is it just donations? Do you reckon sponsorships?
It's a great question.
The go for?
Another great question. We had a little bit of sponsorship, but that doesn't give us a hell of a lot of stuff. That pays for the infrastructure, the toilets, the lighting, the stage, all the inflatables and the marquees. They get donated. So that's about a $20,000 cost that we don't have to pay.
Yep.
And then on the over the period of the weekend, we get probably raise 15 or 20 grand through ticket sales. Through the 400 people, and then we also have raffles, auctions. We home cook all the food, so there's a lot of money comes in there, and that's where we get all our money. And then at the end of the night, when everybody's pissed, I do a nice auction, and people want a big $1 grand, and I say $5 grand, and I go, yeah, $5 grand. Next minute they go, fuck, how much did I spend last night? I go, I don't care, you pay it to me, and I'm giving it to Peter Mac. So.
Have you had many people come through the next day and be like, I cannot afford that?
Yep, it happened last year. Someone, a keg of beers. A keg of VB beer is worth about $300, and someone bid $550, and then when the wife found out, she says, "You're not fucking getting that."
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, she went up to the stage.
Yeah, so we had to auction that again, and and someone else bought it for $500.
I just remember there being one bloke with a flashlight that just didn't get up from his seat at one time, but he would just bid with his flashlight. Wouldn't say a word.
Steve-O, he's a truck driver. He bids on it every year. I reckon he has a budget of $5,000 he wants to spend every year. And for him, he's it's all goes to cancer research. So it's not about spending money and not getting any return for it. It's like the money goes to cancer research, which will one day benefit maybe not myself, but it might venture you guys in your lifetime, or your children in your lifetime, or my children. And that's what it's about, the vision for the future. I had a very good friend of mine who's got cancer now, and he says, Ben, I wish there was more people like you around 20 years ago who raised a lot of money, which benefit people right now. So it's like they say, the tree you plant today is, the shade is for the future. Yeah. So that little tree grows for the shade in the future. So that's what Camp for Cancer's about.
Yeah, that's an awesome metaphor. That's
you get a couple of good sayings off me now.
I'm going to fucking bring out my notebook.
And obviously, I think, last show, someone discussed like $1 a week or something.
Yeah, that's another great question. You've done your research, and I'm really happy to be sitting here and talking to you blokes. And you've done your research, and you know what you're talking about. We have one called Coins for Change, which is about people just having their bank balance, their bank details, and having $1 debited every week. So for people who work a little bit, you don't notice $1 per week. Every year, obviously, doing your mathematics is $52. 5 people's $250. 100 people, that's $5,000.
Yeah.
So, or 500. I don't even know to be maths, but no, that's $5,000. That's $5,000. 100 people's $5,000.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money that accumulates over a year. So we're still trying to push that. We raise a fair bit of money through that, but that's something anyone can jump on. You don't even have to come to Camp for Cancer.
Yeah, well, we'll probably plug that at the end of the show just to make sure if people want to jump on it, then they can.
Because it's a very good cause, and that one, it's especially one that it's smart. Like I can even just as a 17-year-old, I can acknowledge that someone's put thought into that. You know what? $1 a week, even me just working me 2 shifts at KFC, I can spend $1 a week.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be checking the podcast. I'll be checking the website. It's half a nugget.
It's half a frozen Coke, seriously.
I'll be sending a message to you like, could I have that $1 back, please?
Yeah,
inflation, bloody $1's nothing.
You know what? I'd be quite happy for you boys to go halves in $1 and do 50 cents each per week. That'll get you out of me coming up.
You know what? I'll be getting a message from Ben saying, "Hey man, you got me this week. I can't."
Yeah, you spot me.
Can you pay the extra 50 cents this week?
I've got it next week, I swear.
What
are the plans for Camp for Cancer going forward? What's the next step?
It's a big question, mate. This year's our 10th year. We'll get this year over and done with, and we're going to have a huge year. Somehow we'll get the planning for it, and we want to have a lot of people up there, maybe a good headline act as well.
Yep.
In saying that, that's no disrespect to the bands we've got because they're fantastic, but we're trying to get Dave Gleason screaming Jets and stuff like that. And if you dream high and you don't achieve it, you've tried your best. And then after that, who knows what's going to happen? Whether we stay at that location, we move locations, we go bigger, we go smaller, we change the format. Who knows at the end of this year? It's just exciting to be involved in it. And the lead up to the event has already started. I've had meetings in January already this year for a November one, and looking forward to it already. It's pretty busy and stressful times, but it's great times because I haven't got cancer. Hopefully, anyway. But people have got cancer and they're doing it tough. And I'm reasonably healthy. I had a bit crook before Christmas, but I'm a healthy guy. So why can't I push people and drive people to raise money for cancer research? That's how I look at it.
Absolutely.
What a great mindset.
Three good minds on the.
You could learn a lot from this bloke on 100%. I hope
he doesn't just have good
I'll
humor,
work out. I'll walk out of here a lot wiser, I think, and I think everyone listening to the podcast will as well. Now, something that people don't really, a lot of people know about you, but you're a rugby player, ex-rugby player. You mentioned it earlier, and geez, how did a rugby player get so bloody smart about this shit?
So obviously I didn't have too many concussions over the years. I was good at giving concussion out and didn't get too many, so I've still got some brain cells there that probably only alcohol affected. But and secondly, it's called rugby league, mate, rugby union or rugby.
Yeah, I know. So you can tell I'm a footy player.
AFL. Pick you up on that.
Poor effort by you.
Mate, so I started when I was 5, as I said earlier, in Sydney, and borrowed footy boots off people and played in joggers the first year, actually. And then as I got about 17 or 18, I started getting a bit bigger and got a bit... started getting selected in the representative teams. And then it was like the proudest moment of my life. I just said this to Craig Bellamy from Melbourne Storm last Wednesday. I was having dinner with him. A little bit of name dropping. That's Craig Bellamy, Melbourne Storm coach. I just said the proudest moments when I got picked in my first representative team at under 17.
Yeah.
And then after that, I made some sacrifices, wasn't drinking with the boys, wasn't doing drugs with the boys, didn't get involved in a long-term girlfriend relationship. So I had plenty of time just for rugby league. I just did rugby league. I come home from school, play rugby league, kick the footy, rugby league. So when I got that representative team in 17s, it was like a formality for me after that. I knew I deserved it and I knew I was going to get there. You have 1 million people over Australia say, I'm going to play AFL, I'm going to play, and they don't. At one particular time when I played, there's 300 people in the NRL for that year. Yeah. That's all, there's 300 professional players. So to make that top 300, it was like a formality to me. I knew I was going to make it, I deserved it, I trained hard, nothing was going to stop me. So I moved up and played for Canterbury Bulldogs in Sydney. And then when I was 22, I moved down to Melbourne here, signed with the Storm. And then, played in their first ever game, the first premiership in 1999, and ended up playing, 100 games there and another 100 games, over in England and in Sydney. So I played 200 games.
So, yeah, far out.
So you went over to play in England?
Went over to England for 4 years over there when I was 28.
Yeah, really? Was that coming to the back end of your career over here?
Getting a little bit old, so you go over there, it's a little bit easier, make some easy money. And the fact is, you're in England and it's obviously part of Europe, so it's really easy to hop to other countries there. So if we had a weekend off, I'd go to Amsterdam or go to Spain or go to Italy or go to, some freaking country over there just for a holiday for 3 days. Because you can, it's only an hour flight.
Yeah.
So that was a business decision for me when I was 28 to go to England. I took the wife over there, brought a little kid home, my pommy son. He's come home when he was 2. He calls himself a little pommy bastard, but he is Australian. He's got both passports.
Does he really?
Yeah, so that's pretty much my journey in a few minutes talking the rugby league, mate.
What about the body side of it, physical? Did it taxing much? Because obviously, you talked about before, you must not have had too many concussions. A lot of people have had a lot of concussions over their time. So how's your body coped with it?
I had one concussion in 1996. That was a bad one, way before you boys were born. I got smashed there, got knocked out a little bit. Other than that, I had 35 operations on my body. Most recently, I had one in December last year, another knee operation. I've had every bone basically broken or reattached to my body, from ankle, my knee, my groin, my elbows, up to a big metal plate holding my neck together and 4 screws. That's why I don't twist my head too far. I look up like this. And then, 6 shoulder reconstructions and everything. So the body's pretty rooted. But I sort of try and train a little bit and eat well and try and not put on too much weight. Otherwise, it's too hard on my knees and joints. But the body's pretty much fucked.
Yeah. You still walk, and
you got to have a great mindset about it.
And as long as you can talk, I think that's all right.
Mate, if I you know how much I talk. If I stop talking, that'd be not worth living after that. So
no way.
The mouth and the throat's still in really good condition, hopefully. And even if I'm laying on my deathbed and can't move, I'll have a microphone. Come and listen to me talk.
That's it.
Was rugby always the main goal?
Yeah. I got to about 16 and I was doing really well, but I was one of those kids, without being a big head, I was good at all sports.
Yeah.
With my parents owned squash courts, so I was played squash and tennis and really never got beaten in that. And then I was playing golf and I was shooting under par, like 2-3 under par.
When I was shoot under par in golf.
What? I know. I was shooting 2-3 under par in golf. And then I played representative cricket. And then the parents pulled me aside when I was 16. They said, "You have to make a decision which sport you want to go and take on full time." And my mum's going, "Oh, you have to play golf because you can play to your 60 and it's easy on your body." My dad's going, "Fuck golf, mate. You play rugby league, boy." And I did the old rugby league, and mum's like, "Ah." So in hindsight, golf I could be still playing professionally now if I made it. You know what I mean? But rugby league was the only choice for me. Coming from Western Sydney, golf was an expensive sport as well, and we really couldn't afford it. So it was just footy, you just pay one rego and play. Golf, you got to have all the clothes,
it's stupid.
Clubs and the balls and all that shit. So it would have cost too much money, so it might not have been financially feasible for me to continue.
Yeah.
So that's why we played rugby league.
And
you got something on the roof.
You may have heard that. Must be the bloody Thunder or something.
Obviously, you're pretty good at rugby. I'd say so. I'd hope so. Anyway, if you play,
we can go at the back later and have a play if you want.
I've got school. What do you think? What do you think made you so good at it? Were you kind of one of those kids that grew up real fast? I know my brother was kind of at 14. People were asking him for his birth certificate.
No. I was a skinny little white boy. I didn't start shaving until I was about 20 or something.
Oh, really?
I haven't got a moustache like you at 17. I've got a face like him with a little bit of hair.
Yeah, 100%.
Still doesn't grow properly. But at decision at 16, 17, my mum gave me a book. She was a very mentally strong woman.
Yeah.
And she did a lot of charity work, a lot of donation, a lot of helping her time, and she believed in going to church and all that stuff. Waste of time, in my opinion. But she was going to church and donating and working Salvation Army. And her positive mindset, she bought me a book when I was 17. It's called Sports Mind.
Yeah.
And that was about positive imagery, positive reinforcement, mental imagery, and all that stuff. Positive, everything positive, and you can believe in what you do. Aim for the moon, even if you miss, you'll be land among the stars.
Yeah.
I can see a quote on your wall there.
Yeah, I'll put that there for if you're looking
just
for
me.
Yeah.
So but that's exactly my mindset at the moment. What 17-year-old in 1992 was reading a book about positive and mental reinforcement and mental imagery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And people didn't even know what it was. And then,
Yeah.
and next minute I'm laying in bed thinking about my game of rugby league. Like when I start the game, I'm going to do this. And I knew in my head what I was already going to do before I went on the field.
Yeah.
Although you got variables and things called the opposition and stuff,
Yeah.
I knew what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I was ahead of my time. I wasn't the most skillful player. I wasn't a big kid. But what I had between my ears and from the parents and that humble beginning, just that was a catalyst for me being a machine, mate. Yeah. I was a machine. I was like a robot machine. I knew what I was going to do, and no one was going to give me fucking road ever. It's still like that now. I'm still a machine now, but an old one with a few injuries.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, you've got a ripper mentality. Who do you give credit to for that? Like, is it your parents? Is it the people you've met along the way? Obviously, you've met a lot of good people along the way.
Great question again. That started with my parents.
Yeah.
They supported me. My mum and dad came to every sporting game. We drove an old combi van to the games, mate. 67 combi, 69 combi.
Yeah,
it's a pretty cool car to have now. But in the 1992, it was a shitbox, mate. They were $500 each.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes we ran out of petrol on the way to a fucking game. I have to get out and push the car in my footy boots, and dad would have to get a jerry can to put in. We you know, they were beautiful parents and so positive. And then once I started playing semi-professional, professional, the coaches. They might not have been the best coaches in the world, but they were positive people, like Steve Folkes, rest in peace, he's brown bread now, Chris Anderson and Johnny Lang. And these coaches that I had developing me complemented the junior coaches I had since the age of 5, 6, 7, all the way through, like peaks like Frank Burke, Mick Nichol. You wouldn't even know these people, but I credit those people, if they ever watch this, to my positive and how good my life is now. So, and I also, you know, I'm in awe of you blokes doing this, as you know, you're still at school, mucking around at school and want a career in this.
Yeah.
And you're goal setters, and I surround myself with good people. And the second time I said it, and people in the community. I don't waste my time with any dickheads who want to suck the energy and drain me. I just go, not interested, see you, dickhead.
Yeah.
You know, you grew up being people around you wanting stuff from you rather than helping you. So now I surround myself with a heap of positive people, and that's the only way to do it. If positive people are around, if you've got drainers around you, they're going to bring you down, man. So just cut them, move on. Hi, like, good to see you again. Yeah, but not listening to one word you fucking say.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Not worth me time.
The best way to go about it.
Yeah. Just cutting away from the episode real quick, we thought we should remind you guys about our socials.
You can find us as Amateur Shit Talkers on TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram.
And if you'd like to find them all in one place, hit the link in our Insta bio.
Now let's move on to a bit more about you, just you specifically. A bit of a just a general Ben Roarty timeline, birth to now. What were you doing as a general?
All right, I'll try and do it in because I'm 49 now.
Yeah, just
10 years
massive
sprints.
highlights. Yeah.
First highlight was when I was 8. I got caught stealing shit because parents didn't buy me any toys, so I got locked up in a police cells in Sydney when I was 8. That was the first time.
Fucking hell.
So let's go back to that. And then by the time we were about 9, things were getting a bit hectic where I lived, hanging around the wrong people, and there was a few things went down, and there was a little bit of arson. I was with some people, burnt something down, and there was a bit of stealing going on. So rather than me getting shit and keep getting arrested, the parents moved me house, moved it 30 k's away, so I couldn't associate with those people.
Yeah.
And I moved to, as I said, to Liverpool. It was a bit of a lower socio-economic area, but then rugby league sort of took over, and I didn't get locked up again then until I was 18. So it was a 10-year period.
What did you do at 18?
I was drinking, just public drinking and public drunkenness in Gold Coast on New Year's Eve.
You're not the only person that would have gotten done with that.
Yeah, and they've decriminalised people getting locked up for drunkenness now. So I'm hoping to get me $2 fine. They took $2 out of me wallet because that's all I had on me, and kept it and left me in jail overnight. But so that sort of timeline was, when I started up and hanging around the wrong people. And then, as I said, we moved areas, and then, rugby league and sport took over from 17. I didn't have any time for any girlfriends and stuff like that. I said, I've seen a lot of my mates holding hands on the oval and kissing cheerleaders and stuff like that, which is good fun, obviously. But They weren't playing rugby league after school.
Yeah.
They weren't hitting golf balls in the park after school. They weren't doing any sport. I know what they were doing, what I wasn't doing, but I knew that was going to come a bit later after I got successful. So that's why I didn't really get myself a long-term girlfriend until I got my wife when I was about 24. I said, I've established myself with Melbourne Storm, and it's time to get into a relationship to settle me down a bit. It didn't really settle me down, but I married, as you know, my wife Sonia. She was a cheerleader for the Storm, so I achieved 2 goals that year. I married a cheerleader
for the Storm.
Yeah, I married a cheerleader and I played for Melbourne Storm, mate.
That is the ultimate American dream in Australia. That's unreal.
The American dream, brother. Down under. So that was sort of my life, and then post rugby league, I think we'll get into a bit of occupations after that, but post rugby league was just about re-establishing yourself in the community after a 10-year career with rugby league.
Yeah.
Sometimes people come out and they don't know what they're going to do and have mental health problems, as you've probably seen. But stepping back a little bit, I was lucky enough to leave school and become a tradesman. So I was a fitter and turner, which is a shit trade, fixing metal and threads and working in a factory. So I had one of those moments in life when I was just become a tradesman in 1997, and I was still amateur, I was semi-professional. I was earning about $20,000 a year rugby league and $20,000 a year for work. And Chris Anderson, who was about to be the Melbourne Storm coach, called me into a meeting. So we went down the pub, had 3 schooners of VB at the pub.
We wrote a
contract on the back of a newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, and I signed it and he signed it, and that was how my first contract was done on the back of a newspaper.
Fuck, really?
Then they obviously took it and transferred it to proper paper, but he's like, all right, you agree, I agree, we sign it. You've just signed a 2 or 4 year deal with Melbourne Storm. So I went back to the factory I was working in, and the big fat boss was called Stan, and I walked in, he wasn't there, and I walked in and put my feet up on his desk like that, just waiting for him to come in, and he walked in and said, get your fucking feet off me desk. And I said, fuck you, I quit. So it's the same thing as when you win the lotto, you just want to go in and tell your boss to get nicked the next day. I'm never working again. And I had that opportunity to tell him to get fucked and just quit, just pack me shit. And he goes, you won't get your sick leave, you won't. I said, fuck you. And I just quit and walked out. Didn't do any paperwork, just never went back. And I was a tradesman working for the government in New South Wales. I just walked out. That was on a Tuesday. And by the Friday, I was living in Melbourne, and the dream started down there. So, yeah.
100%. Was we were going to touch on all of your jobs that you've had a bit later. But personal training, that was a big one for you.
Yeah. So I was just about to retire from professional rugby league in England 2006, and I didn't know what job I wanted to do, like a lot of people, and I know you're young in your work career.
Yeah.
I just got on old Google and I typed in outdoor, is what I liked, and fitness. And a business in Reservoir come up, outdoor group personal training called Step Into Life. And it was a franchise. And I just paid 20 grand, bought it, still living in England, and then come back and then started that business up. And that was doing really well. And then I sold that, and then I opened a gym in Wallen called Totally Fit, which is still around today.
Yeah, it is too.
It's moved locations 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So I started that gym, doing the personal training then, loved training people, and it was just natural for me what I did. I might not be a rocket scientist, but I know how to help people and motivate people, and that's the hardest part.
Yep.
So I did the personal training there for a while, and then I sold that, and then I opened up F45 in Epping, actually, with a couple of mates, and we had a bit of a business problem there, and it fell out with them. So that was about the end of the personal training, and then I individually trained people one-on-one for a long time in my garage, and it was great career, but like some occupations, it's got a time frame. I got a bit bored after that. Hearing people's problems every day, and they're not listening to what they're saying, they're just doing whatever they fucking want.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You know, they're with me for 4 hours a week and they're at home drinking piss and
I bet degrading.
Eating shit. So they come in
100%.
But I made good money out of it and had fun. So personal training was good fun. It's
that's
a good
all
job.
You want then. Yeah. Well, now I think we'll let you touch on. We want to know all of the jobs you've had.
I've counted 1, 2, 3.
I think we've just dipped our toes in the water so far.
Yeah. Brother,
because there's been a few.
I look at you and I tell you, there's probably 40 jobs, and I'm 49, so I've got to catch up 9 more jobs for 1 a year. Like a lot of kids in Sydney, I started with a paper run. You used to walk around carrying the newspapers, blowing a whistle past the houses, and you got paid 3 cents per newspaper. So I used to sell 30 newspapers a day. So it was 90 cents per day I got paid. You usually got $2 tips per day, so it was $2.90 per day.
Oh, yeah, that's a chocolate bar.
Yeah, I used to get a 600ml Coke and buy a magazine I'll try and flog the pornos.
What sort of makes
Just to try and flog the pornos, we couldn't get them. And then moved up, and then when I was an apprentice, I worked hard, mate. I worked from 7 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon as an apprentice, fitter and turner. I'd go to the gym for an hour, then I'd go to like Coles or Woolworths and pack shelves till midnight.
Yeah.
So I worked hard, just so I could save money. And then obviously the rugby league, took over there. And then after rugby league was some good times, and I became a youth worker and worked at a place called Berry Street at Seymour. Yeah. Working on the disadvantaged and troubled youth. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that I did that job. Yeah. Because I'm a knock-around bloke, I'm a good listener and had some good life experiences, growing up in a humble area like I did. So I helped a lot of kids. Yeah. And then after that, I became a TAFE teacher.
What were you teaching?
I was teaching community services and employability skills to unemployed youth.
Oh, wow.
Right, yeah, so these kids had come in on the dole, and they were forced to do the course with me, but then I was teaching them about cover letters, resumes, how to find a job, how to present, how to dress, how to interview. Yeah. And then if these kids come back to me and they actually achieved a job, they were allowed to quit the course and go and work. And that was a massive sense of achievement, enabling these kids, because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. A lot of these kids, their grandparents don't work, their parents don't work, the kids don't work, and it just falls down.
Keeps going, yeah.
So my mentality was to change that scenario for that kid there. They can be generational changes. Yeah. So if they got a job, then next minute their kids see mum and dad work. So I did that for a couple of years, and then I moved into the prison service. We'll probably get to the prison one separately in a minute.
I'm going to make you tell us some
that was an interesting job.
We might have to cut you off there. You've had enough job. No, just keep going.
And then there was probably 10 more I can't remember. I unpacked shipping containers. I've done concreting. I've done gardening. I build memorabilia now. I had a self-defence business all around town. So I've got a bit of ADHD, and I feel if you haven't got ADHD, you should have it. There should be a way to give it to you. Yeah. So if I get bored in a job, whether it be a day or a week or a month, if I don't like someone I'm working with, I'll just go, fuck it, I'll look for another job. I'll never quit a job, go and look for another job. I'll always keep working,
the overlap, yep.
Find a job. That's a little bit of advice for you. If you ever crack the shit, you hate your job, hate someone, find another one before you quit, because that gap can be demoralising in the middle. It can go from 1 hour to 1 week to a month, a year, and you could end up in a rut. So that's a little bit of advice for anybody. Always find a job before you quit a job.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, and there's probably more jobs. We can add them later in the text at the end. So Ben also did.
Yeah, we'll have like one of the credits at the end, like just to fly through all the jobs. Yeah,
like there's probably more.
Now, obviously, one of the jobs you mentioned was a prison guard. I would think that would get pretty interesting.
There's got to be some stories coming out of that one.
Like, I'm not sure how much you can tell, but like, fuck it, you don't work for them now. You don't work there anymore.
Tell us as much as you fucking like.
I finished rugby league where I got paid to bash people for 10 years.
Yes.
So I figured I needed another job where I could bash people and get paid to do it. So I thought, I'll go and be a prison officer.
Yeah,
and then after I was in the prison officer working at Melbourne Assessment Prison down there, after 3 months, I got into the dog squad, the riot squad. So that's the top of the pops, dressing in mad gear and covering your helmet, wearing helmets
all
and
anyone could dream of.
Cell extractions and stuff like that. You had people, they're in their cell and they won't come out, and we've got to move them from prison to prison, or they've got to go to hospital and they're not interested and they're looking at you. And next minute, the door opens and I'm always the first one in because I was a mad bastard, and they go, you go in first and deal with them. And so they had a bit of a process, the prisoners. They generally throw a TV at you first, and then they grab the kettle and they throw the boiling water at you, and then they throw everything they can at you. And then when you're looking at them like that and just turning your head and just then they start shitting themselves.
Yeah.
If you don't flinch when someone throws a TV at you, just turn, let it hit you. A bit of boiling water's not going to kill you. Then it's on. I'd be like on the ground. 9 out of 10 would jump on the ground and be shitting themselves. And some of them wanted a shot at the title. I was still a big bastard, not far out of rugby league. I'd knock them out, mate. Just crack them, kick them, knock them out, drag them out.
It makes it easy, yeah.
It was just fun. It was just what I was good at. And I had no emotion. It was like, I'll just knock you out. I'll go fishing after this and then tidy up. So that was really good. The first day I worked in the prison, I was working at the Melbourne Assessment Prison. As I said, I'm going to step back a bit. And the prisoners are all yelling at me name. They're going, Ben Roarty, prison officer, Ben Roarty. Yeah. So there was no anonymity, whatever the word is.
Yeah. Oh, animosity?
Not animosity, being anonymous.
Anonymous, something like that.
Between us, we'll work it out.
Yeah, something like
that. Yeah, I couldn't be anonymous working in the prison because they all knew who I was. The Kiwis, some of the Victorians and some of the Aboriginal, they followed rugby league really big. So as soon as I got there, Ben Roarty, Melbourne Storm, I'm like, fuck, they all know who I am. And then you can Google me address. So I was never really, I didn't do anything to anyone. I wasn't picking on people. I was doing a good job. Fast forward a few times, I was in a prison in Barwon, and Tony Mockbell walked past. And he's the baddest of bad person in Australian prison. And he just looks at me and goes, hey, mate. And I put my hand out, just shook his hand. I'm like, oh, he's not supposed to shake prisoners' hands. I just shook Tony Mockbell's hand. And he said, hey, mate, it was just like talking to another bloke.
Yeah, you forget that you work in a prison sometimes.
Other things there, I saw a lady on fire one day. I was in an office, an alarm went off, smoke alarm, and usually them smoking in a cell or something like that. Yeah. I remember looking through the door. She's on fire, mate. She's burning like a bonfire.
Dreams coming back to life. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she was on fire, and then she's yelling out, "Put the hose on me!" And I was like, "No, mate, you lit the fire yourself.
You've done this to yourself.
Get in the shower, and I'll call you an ambulance. But I'm not opening your door because I'm not burning myself, and I'm not putting the hose on you." And seeing like that, and I've seen a couple of people with their throat cut, their mouth stitched together in protest. Some of the refugees figure if they're going to go on a hunger strike, they stitch their mouth together. I think it'd be the worst thing in the world.
100%.
I don't know if it hurt that much, but not being able to eat, I reckon that'd hurt.
Yeah, that's...
you get sick of it after a while.
Yeah. What else did we see? People on fire, people hanging, a couple of people hanging and choking on the ground. And it was just like... But the one thing that I used to do, which used to work for me, as soon as I got to the car park at work, ready to go into work, I'd physically pretend to grab my heart. I'd open the glove box, I'd put it in there and close the glove box. And I used to do that every day before I started work.
Oh, really?
I don't care about one person in there other than myself.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do, what you say, who you are. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, I was grab my heart, go home to my beautiful family and friends, go fishing, camping, four-wheel driving and hunting. Yeah. That's all I cared about, all I still care about, and charity work. Yeah. And so nothing would faze me now. There's never any... I do a little bit of PTSD through some of the things that pedophiles would say to you. We're not going to get too deep into that. I don't like talking about it much, but some of the pedophiles or stuff they said still haunts me today. Like they don't feel like they're doing anything wrong. Yeah. They're excited to see certain things and they talk about it in groups of there. So that was probably the hardest part. Just being professional around the sex offenders and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
It's pretty serious shit, but if I had me time again, you can't go and belt everybody just for the sake of it, but, that's just the way it is, and there's a lot in the Victorian prison system, and that was probably the hardest part of the job.
Yeah.
But the best part of the job was, being in the riot squad and so forth, and to sort of finish it up, unfortunately, I made an error in 2013. I got caught drink driving and lost my licence for 18 months.
Yep.
So you can ask me, I was 1.83, so that's only...
Fucking hell.
That's 4 times the limit.
How many does it take you to get to that stage?
I started drinking at 12 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the morning, so it was like, how long's that? 14 hours?
That's like the Triple J day that we had the other day, just by the pool having beers.
Yeah, and then drive a car after it. I made a big error. It was a Bucks party gone wrong. I should have stayed in a hotel instead of driving home. The best part about getting caught drink driving, no one got hurt.
Yeah.
I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't hurt myself. And I finally got caught. I was a habitual drink driver. My mum and dad grew up drink driving in Sydney all those times. And it was just what it was ingrained in me. Drink driving's okay to do, as long as you go to the back streets, this and that. And then finally I got caught in 2013, February 13, 2:32 a.m. in the morning at Moreland Road. And I lost my licence for 18 months. And that changed me as a person. Negatively, I missed out on staying in the dog squad in the prison.
Yeah.
I got sent to the women's prison to work for 2 years, which is another story in itself. But I've really opened my eyes up to about how dangerous I had been in the previous 20-something years drink driving. So it's something that I don't wish upon anybody. My little boy now is grown up, he's 19, and he's just a bit older than you boys, Braden, and my young bloke's about 11 now, and they know the dangers of drink driving, and it's not something I could put it back and ask you guys. It's not something young kids do anymore.
No.
It's not.
You're way too on your toes about it.
Everyone's going to get caught.
Yeah.
And it's unsafe. Number one, it's unsafe.
Yeah.
It's unsafe. And number two, everyone will get caught these days. Where back in our day, when I was doing it when I was your age, there was no booze buses around and there was no this and that. And you could do it. And it was a competition to not get caught.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's great that it's not doing it. It's, you know, we've got other issues, kids driving on drugs and, you know, my son rode his car off just before Christmas, falling asleep.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe if he was drunk, he wouldn't have done it, but he fell asleep. So that's pretty much about the prison, unless you've got any more questions to reignite some stuff in my head. But
yeah.
It was good fun. It was a great job. Great job.
Fuck it. I feel like it wouldn't be for me. It wouldn't be my cup of tea. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no.
Hey, if you could. And another thing you moved into was security after that?
Yeah. Security was like in 2019, my son got diagnosed with autism. And he was 5 at the time, and I had a neck injury. As I said, I had the metal plate put in. That deteriorated to the point where I was wearing a neck brace, and I couldn't physically do any physical work anymore. I suppose security is physical work, but I could just stand there at times and not do too much. But I ran a couple of clubs in Melbourne, the Emerson, and you're borderline starting to go to nightclubs at your
I know the Emerson's down south, yeah.
So the Emerson,
well,
and then the depot, I was the precinct in Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple other bars around. So, you know, I've developed a good reputation where I could stand on the door and talk to a lot of people. I think I've had my security licence for 11 years, and I think I've had 5 or 6 fights in that period of time.
Yeah.
5 or 6 wins too. So you don't want to be using your hands all the time with security, you know. So I'd stand on the door and I'd argue with anyone, the biggest and baddest, you know, your bikies coming up thinking they're heroes.
Yeah, fuck them.
And I'm not fighting them. You know, I've fought bikies before, Comancheros, and had a couple of fights in Sydney with them growing up, and rebels.
Shit.
So I pride myself on being a good security guard, being able to de-escalate a situation. In saying that, I did have a guy go to hit me with a glass one day. He picked it up, went like that. And then the next thing I remember was watching him go in an ambulance. He had a broken jaw and he had his face all bandaged up like a mummy because his jaw was falling off.
Yeah.
His jaw nearly fell off his head.
Fuck.
And he was going to the back of the ambulance and he had the cuffs on him. I was sitting there going, fuck you, mate. You nearly hit me with that glass. And then there was another guy who King hit me at another bar.
Oh,
and,
fuck.
Yeah, he ended up unwell.
Yeah.
He ended up unwell. And the police were going to police turned up and they were going to arrest me for the punishment I was dishing out to him.
Yeah.
I had him just having a chat to him. And they wanted to arrest me. And I was like, I'm only just doing it in self-defence. Look at the lump on the side of my head. And they watched the footage and then they took my handcuffs off. They put the handcuffs on me. And when they woke him up eventually, they put the handcuffs on him. So there's not much. And another funny one, I'll tell you, a guy wanted to fight me and I pushed him away and he had a swing at me and I went to throw a kick at him. And I forgot my actual work boots that night. I just was doing a front kick, a push kick. Just push him in the chest, push him away so I don't have to punch you. And then my shoe fell off. We're flying through the air. And I was like, oh, no. And then he watched it go off like that, and I went, oh, that's a good chance. So I popped him on the chin there, picked up my shoe, and then he was knocked out, unfortunately. Yeah. And I got my shoe, and I smacked him in the mouth like that to wake him up, and picked him up with a belt and sent him on his little way. So
that's a good trick in the back pocket, isn't it? Just like fling the shoe up, and distracted, bang.
Just point to a camera up there and I go, well, and just pop them. and then since then, I moved away from the nightclub scene and I do, as you probably know, the event security.
Yeah.
So I work at Rod Laver and, Amy Park and MCG and Marvel Stadium.
Yeah.
And just last year alone, I was blessed enough to be able to work the front of stage security for Elton John, Billy Joel, Robbie Williams and Paul McCartney. Yeah. So I get paid to sort of watch and be in the presence of those superstars. So it's another great career. When you build your reputation up enough and you're able to be good at your job, you get headhunted to do that. And I've been around a long time and got a lot of experience with that stuff. So that drives me at the moment. That's a really good fun job, mate. Really good fun.
Yeah. So. Did you have a lot of the underagers trying to get into the clubs? It's like ID, no, sorry.
Nah, you're coming in underage. I don't really care, mate.
I'll let you know what clubs to go to then for all the listeners out there.
Just ring me and I'll send you passes to the clubs. You've got a free pass, you don't need ID anyway. I'm not fussed about I'm not fussed about people coming in underage. I certainly don't condone it. I don't want to happen. But they show me ID, mate. looks pretty close. I don't know the difference. You know, they try and train you. It's dark sometimes. You're in a hurry. I look at it. Yeah, you've done well. If you've paid $100 online for this and you're 16, good on you. Go inside. And I'll just say, all I say to them is make sure you have a beer or some alcohol and a water, and don't get too drunk because you end up unwell and you do yourself a mischief passing out on the dunny floor or something like that.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people still talk about like how. They'll be talking to their mates saying, "Oh, I had this really good security guard once." He said, "Yeah, give me a beer, give me a water."
It's true, mate. Yeah. It's true.
They're the ones that stick to your head.
I'm good at my job, and people do say that often. They go, "Where do I know you?" And I said, "Oh, from one of the nightclubs." "Oh, I remember you from the front door." But if you're drunk when you turn up, I'll just tell you, mate, come back next week. Don't make it hard on yourself. And I'll always point the camera. There's a camera watching you there. And don't make a fool of yourself. And they'll come back next week and they'll say, "Oh, thanks for last week."
Yeah.
And that's why I was good at my job. And for 13 years security, or whatever I said, 11 years, 12, whatever, and 5 or 6 fights. That's good.
That's a fair effort.
Running a nightclub door.
That's a very fair effort.
Yeah. Because it's not something I want to do. Number one, there's a couple of reasons I didn't like fighting is because you hit someone so hard I used to break my hands.
Yeah.
And secondly, they're going to hit the floor and knock themselves out and hurt themselves. And that one punch thing. And I don't want to. I'm not involved in that. So the first one was self-preservation. Number 2 was preservation of the perpetrator. And number 3, I suppose I lose my job. It was a good job. So, but the first one was crack them. And if you miss time, I've had a few fights over the years and broken my hands, and it's not fun, mate.
Yeah.
Wiping your ass with your left hand and stuff like that when you've got this hand in plaster.
Things you just don't think about, do you?
After you break it. I broke that one in 98 in a fight in Sydney at Coogee Bay Hotel. And I had big surgery on it and then wiped my ass with your left hand. It's not fun, mate. It's little things like that's hard work. Yeah, I'm not ambidextrous.
Yeah.
on that piece of advice, don't break your right hand because you have to wipe your hand with your left, or vice versa. Do you have to wrap up this episode? We have a lot of our listeners are a lot of teen-based people, younger people. What one piece of advice would you give them moving forward in their life? Obviously, you've been through it. You said you've had a lot of experience in this life thing.
Been through the ringer.
Yeah, exactly. What's one thing you'd tell them going forward for them to keep in their mind?
Yeah, one thing I say, and you probably see all my social media and stuff. I've got T-shirts made, and it's a saying I have called "Love Your Life."
Yeah.
So that means to me, you love your life, you love yourself, love your family, love your friends, love everything you do. And if you don't, make the changes around it to do it. So if you, say for example, you're going to Broadford High where you guys go and you really don't like it, it's not working, don't be afraid to change and go to another school. If you're in an occupation that you really, it's draining you down and your mental health suffering because you might be getting bullied at work, you might have a micromanager boss, you might not like some other employees, you might not like your job, you might have been in there 1 minute or 10 years. Change your job. Don't wear yourself down by being around negative people and not doing stuff. So don't be afraid of change. Do the research and make your changes. But as I said, the main thing I say, and I say to everybody, is love your life. And I have people come back to me all the time from all over the world. That saying's gone around and they go, "Ben, I just love your life, love your life." And if you're not, make the changes. So that's probably it.
Yeah, well, that's a good one for obviously such a positive podcast.
It's such an easy one to say.
Message,
love your life.
Love your life, and I've got a couple of T-shirts made on it. And when I do this stand-up comedy, which I've just started doing, I have that on stage every time I do it. And people go, "What's that shirt?" I said, "I just made it myself. I sent the shirt to me mate and he printed the letters on there.
Yeah.
Can I have one?" So I'm like, I don't sell them yet, but after this podcast, we might do some Love Your Life shirts and send it out.
Link in bio.
Let's do it.
Put a link in the bio and I'll give you guys one each and then we'll go from there and we'll sell them.
Now, one thing I'm not going to forget to do, I want to plug the $1 a week thing. So I feel like that's something that is very accessible for a lot of people.
Yeah, probably have it linked.
Thank you. Yeah. Yep. So with Camp for Cancer, the letters of that is C4C, Camp for Cancer. Also, we have an initiative called Coins for Change, C4C. And for $1 a day, direct debit out of your bank, obviously you're not going to notice, $1 a week, not $1 a day. Otherwise, that's $365 a year. But it's $1 per week gets direct debited out of your bank and goes directly to Camp for Cancer.
Yeah.
And we've got probably 100 people doing it at the moment and it's raising some good funds. But if we had it up to 1,000 people, That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
So, as you said, you blokes are just starting out working part-time. I'm happy for you guys to give 50 cents each per week through direct debit. But we'll set up and send a link to anybody who wants to do that. And I appreciate you really pushing that for me.
100%.
And it makes a difference. It goes straight to Peter McCallum Cancer Research Foundation.
Yep.
And it's making difference in people's lives.
You guys can find that in the description on wherever you're listening to this. If it's on Spotify, you'll be able to find it through Spotify. If it's on YouTube, you'll be able to find it in the description of the video.
Or it'll be in our link tree.
Yeah. Or in our link tree.
Instagram.
That'll be the link to where you can find instructions on how to set this sort of stuff up.
Don't know much about that shit, but you blokes do it, mate.
I'll send a plan for you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to mention? Anything?
Not particularly, mate. All I wanted to say is thank you for you guys. And as I said, there's been inspirational people around me. And then when I met you guys, probably halfway through last year at Benny's house, Benny Gregory's house, another inspirational leader at 22 years of age.
Yeah, massive.
I was captivated by you two and your positivity and running this stuff and making changes, not waiting for changes to happen.
Yep.
So when you offered me the opportunity to come up here and do this podcast, I've been looking forward to it, and I know you guys have as well.
Yeah,
we tried to do it in December, and I got a little bit unwell, but we're back on our feet. I'm a little bit skinny now. I used to be 10 kilos heavier, so next time you see here, I'll be back to massive again. But I just thank you guys for being positive people around me, and I'd even consider doing my own podcast one day.
100%. I'd listen.
You'd have to set me up.
Yeah, I'll set you up on your own little couch.
Yeah,
camera on.
I said it to my wife that I might do a podcast myself, and I even like there's a analogy I use is the stages of change.
Yeah.
So a lot of times the first thing you've got to do is come up with an idea, and then you've got to implement the idea, then you've got to start the idea, and you've got to maintain it, and then if you relapse, if you want to start anything in life, the time's now. Like, start
100%.
writing a book, start doing a podcast, start doing it, because sometimes for some people tomorrow never comes.
Yeah.
It never comes. And I lost a good mate of mine on the 29th of December, went to his funeral, and he's only 50 years of age. He's halfway through life, or 3/4, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his tomorrow didn't come.
Yeah.
So you want to do shit, the time's now, and start right now, everything.
Rort, it's been...
We've got some reels to come out of this episode, I tell you.
Mate, it has been an absolute pleasure. There's so much good content coming out of here. I think everyone else is coming out of here all a bit wiser thanks to your words. We absolutely thank you for coming on.
A lot wiser, I'd say.
Thank you. And it's not very often you talk to media guys like yourself, and next minute you've got to go to school in a minute.
We actually do. I've
far out.
Funnily enough, I have math methods in 25 minutes.
Maths is maths, mate.
Maths is maths. You don't need maths to talk shit next to that.
Don't need to be maths in the media.
No way.
Drop maths and just take up the media.
Fuck
but you blokes have inspiration to me, and I want to continue the journey with you. If there's any way I can help you in the future, I certainly like you back helping out at Camp for Cancer this year, and keep building on the relationship. It's only in its infancy now, and I'm happy to help you guys and vice versa, help us in one way or another, whether it be a conversation, whether it be work, whether it be just hanging around each other. I'm grateful for you guys to coming into my life, through Benny Gregory and these people. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rorts. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Ben, it has been shit talking to you. Can you tell us the one final thing for the episode?
Roll the outro music.